Something I have noticed when I'm editing my videos is, and I kind of intend this as a funny little anecdote or observation. When I edit my videos, if you're a fellow creator, you'll know that you get the little thumbnail pictures. So you fill in the information, you fill in the category, you get little thumbnail pictures. For some reason, I can't seem to get a flattering one. I don't know. I'm always like my mouth's hanging open, or I look like I'm frowning, or but I'm not particularly image driven, but Um, it's noticeable. So, wonder has anyone else experienced that? Anyway, on a slightly more serious point, I want to talk about the idea of hypocrisy, personal hypocrisy. Um, and it's a theme that's come up a lot with the Dominic Cummings scandal. Now, I know I've mentioned this in the last few videos, but it is something that's very topical and it's come up. There's different angles to look at it with, and one of them is this theme of hypocrisy. I'm not going to, rehash everything that's been said about Dominic Cummings because it's already been done to death in some ways. So I don't intend to rehash that. But a recurring theme is hypocrisy, i.e., one rule for Dominic Cummings, another rule for everyone else. Whatever side you come in on the debate, um, that has been a recurring theme. Interestingly, today, LBC posted a poll saying that 59% of people want Dominic Cummings to resign. That's a lot lower than I would have expected. That's just about half, a little bit more than half. So it might be that people are actually now. A journalist friend of mine earlier posted a piece about apparently Piers Morgan has tweeted, pleased to be part of the scum media that holds the powerful to account, and I quote. Now, this might be a response to some of those criticising, myself included, the doorstepping techniques of Dominic Cummings. Well, I maintain that. I think doorstepping is a valid practice. And I also think that in the whole theme of hypocrisy, a number of people have pointed out in those videos, and apologize if I'm repeating this, but they had pointed out that those journalists, those photographers, were themselves being hypocritical because they were basically hounding a man who's a public figure for sending out the wrong message, and yet they were themselves not listening to the regulations because they weren't keeping the social distance. The BBC kind of said, whilst we strive to keep the social distance, Dominic Cummings got hated questions on his doorstep or something like that. But I think there is a big lack of accountability or self introspection. I'll say it, self introspection from the media in general. In general, and what I think there's a failure to understand on the part of the mass media, and again, I'm talking about this in a general sense, whether it be left wing or right wing, that when journalists look like they're not introspecting, that is one of the factors that does damage trust. Because people look at that and they say, okay, you guys are holding the powerful to account, but who holds you to account? You know, you're questioning this person, but can you not be questioned yourselves? And of course they can. We're free to criticize the media, and they do frequently get criticized. But the power dynamic is that they are the ones who carry the stories, they're the ones who carry the debate. And I think that's a very, very important thing as part of that dynamic because they can say, well, you can freely criticize us, but will they air it or not? That's a question. What I really want to focus on is an open question, and it's this: are we all of us, on some level, hypocrites? Now, quick follow up there. I'm not talking about the regulations. I'm not talking specifically about the lockdown and COVID-19 because I don't believe we are. I think most people have been trying their best actually to use common sense and to stick within the regulations. I know I have. I got a mask the other day, which I'm wearing when I go out. I abide by the 2 meter rule when I'm in shopping centres, so I feel I'm doing my part, and I feel a lot of people have. Um, but on the wider point about hypocrisy, You know, it's one of the most damaging charges that could be laid against someone because, especially public figures, because the charge of being a liar, with politicians, that's almost expected because they make grand promises and then they can't keep them, so it looks like lies. And sometimes it is lies. Um, Melissa Chen, who is another journalist friend I'm connected with, I can't say she's a close friend, but I'm connected with her. She posted a piece recently suggesting that when it comes to Donald Trump and Joe Biden, the backlash against Biden might be greater because people, the American people, as she argued, or as she, I can't remember actually, I have to be honest if it was her piece or she was quoting someone else, but she pointed out via this piece that the American people will tolerate a liar, but they won't tolerate a hypocrite. This was in relation to the allegations against Joe Biden. Now, the point with that is he's only a hypocrite if he's actually guilty. And he's been really, really endorsing the Me Too movement and the feminist narrative on that. He's only a hypocrite if he is actually guilty. If he's not guilty, I'm not really sure where the hypocrisy lies, except insofar as he endorsed the mantra of believe all women, except when he found himself under scrutiny. Well, except in this case, it's not true. My take on that, just to reiterate, was that Biden kind of dug himself in a hole with that by endorsing that very ridiculous mantra. And it is a ridiculous mantra because you can't say all women are telling the truth. You know, some don't. Just as you can't say all men must be guilty. And that's the default issue there. If you're saying all women are telling the truth, by default, it must mean that all the men they're accusing are guilty. Now, that's clearly damaging to the whole principle of due process. But the thing with hypocrisy is it's really, really magnified when you're a public figure because you're expected to set certain standards. Although maybe we, the public, are sometimes, and again, this is not about Dominic Cummings, but sometimes, people say, "Oh, I vote for them; they're all liars," um, or they're just telling the public what they want to hear, etc. I think one reason why the likes of Trump and Bolsonaro have a lot of support is because they're so plain speaking. And I am not saying that's a good thing, but it might be one reason because there is a perception that they just don't care. They just don't sanitize anything they say, and that's true. They don't. So people somehow associate that with being more sincere. It might actually be that Trump's lies, he actually believes his own lies. He's so used to making them. Um, but I think I mean, I'll give an example for myself here. I have worked in China. I got paid for working in China for teaching. I am also fiercely critical of the Chinese Communist Party, and I've said a lot of very blunt things about what I think about them. Now, some people might say, "Well, I'm a hypocrite because I went there and I got paid via the Education Bureau." Maybe I am. Maybe I am. Maybe because I lived and worked in China, I should therefore shut up and never say anything because it was a good experience and I got paid. Well, I thought about that, and my outlook would be yes, I got paid, but I delivered a service, and the service I delivered, helping students with their oral English, was totally non-political. Now, had I went to China and worked for a Chinese newspaper or Chinese state media, or acted as some sort of cultural exchange where I had to flatter the Communist Party, and I only done it because I wanted a comfortable time and I wanted to get paid, then the charge of hypocrisy in my case would be very valid. By the way, I'm not saying anyone's accused me of this. This is just something I'm using as an example for the complexities that we all face. And I'm well aware people might use that against me. But that experience also gave me more insight into how things are there. Not an expert, but more insight. I think if people are really, really honest, we're all hypocritical on some level in some way. The real question mark is, to what extent does your hypocrisy go? If, for example, you get, again, this is a very, very loose example, a corrupt clergyman or imam or rabbi or anyone who is a person of faith, and they spend all their time pontificating about how evil child molestation is, and then they're actually caught doing it. That's worse than hypocritical because it's obviously a destructive crime, but I think that's the sort of hypocrisy that people cannot stomach. And I think you do get it from dogmatic religious types, where they cannot seem to grasp that when they go around pontificating and telling people how they need to find Christ or they need to find Allah or whatever it might be, unless they are whiter than white themselves, then it just looks obnoxious. And of course, they won't be whiter than white because no one is. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all do things that we're not proud of. So this is the problem with the religious, and they will say, "Oh, but I'm just the messenger," and they will freely admit, "I'm not perfect," but they can't put two and two together to say, like, "Don't shoot me, I'm just the messenger." But the problem is the messenger is coming across as obnoxious. I've even heard evangelical Christians say, "Well, when we shame gay people, we're being really kind because we're trying to prevent them from a life of hell." But do you really think a gay person is going to thank you for telling them that they'll burn in the fiery pits for eternity because of their, as evangelical Christians would say it, lifestyle, their debauched lifestyle, whatever they would frame it as? So I've often made videos where it might, I mean, for all I know, I might come across as quite obnoxious. I might come across as quite holier than thou or self-righteous or even like I'm virtue signaling. I think how other people perceive us really is largely beyond our control. But we have to kind of have the honesty to accept that we're not perfect. So when I get angry about a particular subject, I'm doing it in the full conscience that I am not a saint. You know the famous line, like he who has not sinned can cast the first stone. It refers to the parable with Jesus and the fallen woman. Um, well, we're all sinners in that theological sense. Obviously, if you're an atheist, you wouldn't necessarily see it that way. But even atheists would say, yeah, they've got faults as people. They would disagree that it's faith bound, that they're therefore subject to divine judgment. But um, I guess the issue is just about minimizing the extent to which you may or may not be hypocritical about something. And certainly, if you're going to really, really make someone feel bad, you need to be very, very sure. I was going to say damn sure there, but YouTube's monetizing process these days. Whatever, I'll say it. You need to be damn sure that you haven't done exactly the same thing, because the charge of hypocrisy, especially for politicians and public figures, is it's quite a damaging one. I'm not saying it isn't deserved, but you just need to be aware of how that comes across. So in my case, I've always taken this view on my channel. If I think something is wrong, nothing is too taboo for my channel. I don't, I don't break any of the guidelines. I don't promote drugs. I don't promote weapons. I don't make threats. I don't do anything like that. But I do raise controversial subjects, and I'm pretty opinionated. People might think I'm pompous. They might think I'm arrogant. Maybe sometimes I come across that way without meaning to. But like I say, I really think if you get hung up on what other people think of you, you can't function. I couldn't do this channel if I was constantly obsessing over what others thought of me. I just couldn't. because then I'd constantly be obsessed about, oh well, I better not say that in case it offends someone. I better sanitize this in case it offends someone else. I better explain this point. And maybe sometimes I'm overly cautious. I don't know. I really don't know. But I've had mostly positive feedback, so I take that as a sign that I'm doing something right. Anyway, thank you for watching, and let me know your thoughts. I'll try and get back to comments. I can't promise that I'll get back to them all. I always have to add that because it would be, I don't want people to think if you leave a comment, I'll definitely get back to you. All I could say is I'll try, but please don't take it personally if I don't. It's just a time issue, and I mean, it's quicker to upload a video than to reply in detail to every comment. I do appreciate people watching this. Feel free to share these videos, and yeah, it's just something to think about.